when we do television shows about children, we do television shows about the children of other countries. When was the last time you saw a television show about the children in this country wanting to be adopted? You never see it.
Former radio talk show host Michael Reagan today on Now I've Heard Everything. I'm Bill Thompson. Well, long before he entered politics, Ronald Reagan was an actor under contract with Warner Brothers. His wife was actress Jane Wyman, and in 1945 they adopted a baby boy named Michael. Over the course of the next few years, young Michael Reagan faced a number of life-altering challenges. His parents divorced, he was sexually abused by a camp counselor, and he felt abandoned not just by his adoptive parents, but by God. Now, as he explains in his 2004 book called Twice Adopted, God gave him a second chance, and it turned his life around. He became a successful actor, writer, eventually a radio talk show host. Now, I met Mike Reagan in 2004, actually just a few months after his adoptive father's passing, and we talked about his book. So in just a moment, our conversation.
No, Sherman, this isn't the Wayback Machine, but it is a look back at an interview from the 30-year archive of national radio personality Bill Thompson. Enjoy.
So here now, from 2004, Michael Reagan.
What was your impetus for writing this book? What was your inspiration?
Actually, my testimony. I'd given my Christian testimony at church about 2 years ago. And there was a, copy made of that, a CD. And the CD got out. And then the publisher heard the CD and contacted me. We had breakfast. And they said, you've got to do a book around this testimony. And so, hence, Twice Adopted is the book around that testimony.
Wow. And what a powerful story this is. This is not a political book.
No.
This is not strictly an autobiography, although it is autobiographical.
It's autobiographical, but it's not the autobiography. No, it's a story about my life. It's a story about a lot of issues. I sit there as well, do a talk radio show. Mm-hmm. What are the issues we talk about today, whether it's radio or television, newspaper? We read about divorce. We read about adoption. We read about illegitimacy, or we talk about it. We read about molestation that is rampant in America today. And we read or we deal with the issue of pornography or child pornography. And I sit there and do a radio show, and I'm thinking one day, I've lived every one of these issues I've been part of. Not something I look forward to, but, I got through it. And I thought to myself, there's a reason I got through it. And maybe it's time I need to open up more about it to help other people get through it also. Because so many people sit back and have things happen to them in their lives. They're still mad at their parents. They're 40, 50 years old. They're still mad at mom and dad. Because mom and dad didn't hug me when I was 8 years old, didn't love me enough, so I'm going to fail and blame mom and dad for it. Same thing with adoption. My birth mother gave me away. She must not have wanted me. Nobody wants me. I must be a terrible kid. So guess what? I'm going to use that as an excuse to fail. Molestation. I used that as an excuse to fail for a long time. But more so than that was the pornography part of it, which now was the solid evidence that I was a bad guy, a bad kid. And so that became my reason to fail. So these are issues that we talk about, and I'm able to share my feelings. And the book is, from a child's standpoint, what I see as a child in you, the adults, and what you don't see in me.
But I wonder if equally pervasive, you say in your talk show, you talk about divorce and child abuse, but the thing that maybe you don't talk about every day on your talk show, but that is probably just as pervasive, is what you talk about in the book, this feeling that many people have that either they are mad at God or that they feel or fear God is mad at them.
Absolutely right. I remember I was giving my testimony at church on the way here last November. Jack Hayford is the pastor of this church. And I'm now going to speak from his pulpit. And I'm telling you, I'm going, wow, I'm like in Jack Hayford's pulpit speaking. And he and Anna are sitting down front. My first question to the congregation is this: 1,000 people there on a Sunday night. How many here believe God hates them? You would not believe the number of hands that went up in that congregation. And Jack, was kind of looking over his shoulder like, have I been doing my job? And he sees hands go up. And then the next question out, how many people here, either now or at some time in the past, have hated God? And hands go up again. And I do the same thing with kids when I go out and talk to high schools and talk to kids. You won't believe the number of hands that will go up. And I can relate to them because I was there. I believe God hated me. I believe all the things that happened in my life in the very youthful years, from the time I was born till 8 years old, all those things happened because I was illegitimate. God hated me and was taking it out on me. And so I figured that if he hates me, well, my goodness gracious, I can hate him right back. And the way I was controlling my life was, if I was going to go to hell, I was going to go to hell my way, not anybody else's way. So I would cuss him out. I would cuss him out. I'd cuss his son out. I would cuss Mary out. And I would say, wow, am I proud of myself? Now I'm going to go to hell because I've earned it, not because somebody did something to me and made me believe I was going to go there anyway.
What a tragedy of happenstance that a little boy is led to believe he'll never get into heaven by something that was not his fault to begin with.
Yeah, but you don't know that. See, kids don't know that. Kids believe it's always been them. You're the adult, I'm the child. I'm supposed to respect you and honor you. You're the adult, that's what I'm told. So how do I know what you're doing to me is not what adults do to children? 57% of the 4 million pedophiles that the Justice Department knows about were sexually molested themselves. 57%. I mean, what does that tell you? It tells you, you do it to me and it just becomes normal for me to do it to somebody else. My own children, I didn't, but to others. And it's the never-ending story that goes on out there. And people give it lip service to say we care about the kids, but they never really punish the abusers. It's always a short-term punishment, like a slap on the hand. And people need to understand sexual abusers, sexual predators will molest 100 to 200 children in their lifetimes. So when the Catholic priests tell you, I'll cop to one, there's probably 100 kids behind that one. It's like the burglar. You think they get caught the first time they burgle a house? How many do they burgle before they got caught the very first time? Same thing with child molestation. That's why I work with Bill Hodgman, Sex Crimes Unit in Los Angeles, California. And the book is full of other stories of others who went through what I went through and how it just absolutely destroyed their lives.
Your book is so candid and so straightforward that I discovered something in your chapter where you were talking about divorce and how easy divorce has become. I was not aware that it was your father who actually set the wheels in motion for this.
Oh, yeah, the no-fault divorce, which, by the way, later on he said, maybe I made a mistake here. Yeah, Dad, maybe you made a mistake. But it made it very easy, so marriage could be treated more like a date than it could be treated like a commitment to the other person. So we have a lot more divorces, in this world today. People do treat it like a date. They don't take relationships seriously. And as I say in the book, when I define divorce, it's when two people walk into a child's room, close the door, break everything in that room that's near and dear to the child's heart, walk out and expect the child to put it back together. We can't put it back together. We're trying to figure out how it got broken in the first place. And we're not sure we're not the problem. We're not sure it wasn't us that broke it. And nobody's told us that it wasn't us and nurtured us. And so now we're living with the fact that we've got two families, not one family. How do you deal with all of that? Divorce happens because one or two people in the relationship are selfish. It's really that simple. When you have a child involved, it's really selfishness not to think of that child.
When you're talking about abortion in your book as well, it reminded me of the bumper sticker my daughter, a recent mother, has on the back of her car. It says, "Choosy moms choose life." And there's you could easily have been a victim of an abortion.
I run a survey on my own show, and when I go out and speak, and the survey question is, how many adoptees are here? Raise your hand. They raise their hand. I said, okay, how many of you would have rather been aborted? So far, 100% of the adoptees that I asked that question to say, are you nuts? At least I have a chance at life. And to think adoptees are the closest to being aborted. So why not ask them what they think? And as I say in the book, my life, if I'd gone through more than I went through, I still would have chosen life because then I had a chance. The other way, you never had a chance.
Do you think people with Down syndrome, people with some horrible disfigurement at birth, whose parents chose not to abort them, do you think they would have the same unanimity?
Yeah, because
opinion?
I've asked them. And people, life is tough. We all have things that we face. We all have our Goliaths, you might say. It's how do you face these things? But at least with life, you're able to face them. With no life, what do you face? You face nothingness.
After this short break, Michael Reagan talks about America's broken adoption system.
AI is not just for 22-year-old coders. A lot of us older adults are drawing on our life experience to find unique and creative ways to use AI, at home or at work. Got an AI success story you'd like to share? Tap the link below to visit our YouTube channel, AI After 40, and let's keep learning together.
Now back to my 2004 conversation with Michael Reagan.
And the figures that you have in here on adoption, all the parents aching for somebody to adopt. And at the same time, and we've heard this argument for 30 years, ever since Roe versus Wade, that there are all these people, women choosing abortion, when all these parents are waiting for for a child to adopt. There's a mismatch here going on.
Oh, there is a mismatch, and a lot of it is just the regulatory burden that people have to face, the hoops they have to jump through in order to adopt a child. It's easier to adopt a child out of Russia than it is to adopt a child in the United States of America. I cannot tell you how many times I'll go to an event and meet adopted kids from Asia, from the Soviet bloc, you name it. And I'm still looking for the kid who's an American kid who's been adopted. And it's because we have put all this political correctness around adopting a child. Well, are you the right nationality? And all of these other things that go on. And it's really sad because there's thousands of kids who want to be adopted. I was at an event in Lubbock, Texas earlier this year for the adoption home there in Lubbock. And their number one goal is to adopt out older kids. I met a 13-year-old boy who was going to be adopted the very next day. Smile from ear to ear on his face. It's like they say, older children, it's hard to adopt them. They want to be adopted too. Nothing wrong with a 13-year-old kid. This kid was looking forward to having a home. I mean, that's the greatest thing in the world for them. And yet, when we do television shows about children, we do television shows about the children of other countries. When was the last time you saw a television show about the children in this country wanting to be adopted? You never see it here in America. You always see the foreign country and the children there waiting for American moms and dads.
I wonder if we lost the whole idea that a stable home is the bedrock of our society.
It is. A stable home is the bedrock. And we've forgotten that because we have become selfish. We've become more material. It's more important to have the big car, more important to have the big house, more important to look important than be important. You can be important to your children. It's important to give that stability to your children so that when they come home, there's stable home that they come home to. But today we have the latchkey kids. We have kids being dropped off at daycare centers. And I equate that in the book with, my lifetime. Remember, we all went to boarding schools. So the Crosby kids, the Crawford kids, the Reagan kids, we all went to boarding schools. 6 years old, I was in a boarding school. But what am I saying? As kids are telling me how lucky I am because my parents are rich and famous, they're going home every night with their moms and dads. And if you could have stood outside our dormitory at Chadwick School or St. John's Military Academy, wherever it might have been, you would have thought you were listening to the crying wall in Israel. I mean, it just, because we all cried ourselves to sleep every night because we missed our moms and our dads. And we used to think the other kids were the lucky ones because they went home. And it began a process of anger in the Hollywood kids, all those books that came out. They came out for a reason. We didn't think our parents loved us. We just didn't think they did. And so what I try to equate to today is when you're dropping a kid off a daycare center, they're seeing what time they're being dropped off. They're seeing what time they're being picked up. They're counting the ones that are going home before them. And a molester came into my life and started to affirm me. Every child wants affirmation. And what you do is you open the door for others to come in to affirm your child, to give them what they want, which is love. So are you going to give love to your child? and affirm that child? Or is some predator going to walk in the door and affirm that child like I was affirmed, like thousands and thousands and thousands of kids are being affirmed every day by child molesters and ruining their lives?
Child molesters are worse when a John Allen Muhammad befriends a Lee Boyd Malvo.
That's right, which I talk about in the book when he had no parents. I mean, he had no father in the home. Look at the fatherless homes in America today. And then we say, gee whiz, but there's so many gangs. What are the gangs? They're family. Because we've taken away the family unit, and all children do is find a new family. So they find gangs. In Los Angeles County alone, 1,300 gangs, 100,000 gang members. All fatherless homes. Lee Malvo, fatherless home. Somebody comes into his life, boom. I'm going to make you feel like family. I'm going to give you the love your father never was able to give you. And just like my molester, Don, I thought he was the greatest guy in the world. All the kids in the day camp thought he was the greatest guy in the world. He gave us what we didn't have, or what we thought we didn't have. The parents thought he was a great guy. Why? Because he was the babysitter in the afternoon. He taught the kids how to play football and baseball and run track and jump on a trampoline. And we came home tired out and sweaty, and we went to bed. We didn't cause any havoc at home. Same thing with Malvo. He didn't have a father. Comes in, another guy comes in and says, I'm going to give you what you didn't have. All of a sudden, this kid says, I'm beholden to you. Whatever you want from me, I'm going to give you because nobody else has given it to me. Now look what's going on. Guy's in jail for how many life terms? And maybe death sentence later on.
And who knows, dozens of lives that he's marred forever. But in the end, are you is this an optimistic book?
Yeah, absolutely optimistic, because I get through it. I finally, my life changes, and instead of blaming God for everything, I start, asking God for help and bringing him into my life instead of shoving him out of my life. It all happened because I found a wonderful woman in Colleen, 1973, blind date, moves into my life, and now we'll have our 29th wedding anniversary coming up, and she's been around, and she prays for me. She got me back into church, and she really was the helpmate to me, and that's how my life changed. So it has a positive ending. Allowed me to do the eulogy that I did for my dad on June 11th. If I don't have her and I don't turn to ask God for help, then I don't have the relationship with my father I had at the end, and I'm able to eulogize him the way I did.
I was going to say, are you just real lucky that nothing bad, that you weren't struck dead by a bus or something during the years that you were estranged from God?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Remember, I understand the anger that people have. Remember, I'm the kid that destroyed a 1965 Oldsmobile with a sledgehammer. It took me about 20 or 30 minutes, but I thought the car hated me. I thought my mom's bike that she loaned me the money for, that bike hated me because the chain came off. So I killed the bike. I used to kill material things. So, yeah, I was very lucky. I was into boat racing, all kinds of things. Trying to prove my manhood and what have you, because I worried about my manhood. I worried about, a male touched me, or people going to think I'm homosexual, or they're going to think I'm heterosexual. I didn't know what you would think of me, and I was thinking the worst, and I didn't want you to affirm my worst fears. And then those photos were out there, and I worried about Dad's run for the presidency, his governorship. If those came out, what would people think of him? What would they think of me? So all those things were going on in my life. So I was very, very lucky. But I think God kept me around for a reason, to write the book and to help other people get through the system and enjoy a life instead of tear themselves up as they have for so many years. I'm glad I was able. I'm glad I was really able to put it down, write it in such a way that isn't political. It is for families. It is for people who are raising families. It is for people who have gone through one of the same things I've gone through, one or all of the above, and the damage it can do to a child. And maybe it finally explains to people why we don't tell people when we're 7, 8, 9 years old, and why sometimes maybe we never tell people, and explains why we break off relationships, and how we need to start dealing with this issue as a serious issue, and with the pornography issue, because of the damage that it can do to families, does do to families, and what child pornography does to the picture. We always think about it in the way of, well, I know child pornography when I see it. I know child pornography because I was it. I was the photograph. Did we ever ask the question about the person in the photograph? The damage to that child who may be damaging others in the future? It's an issue that needs to be taken on.
Michael Reagan is 80 now. He and his wife have been married for 50 years. Now, you can get your copy of Twice Adopted by Michael Reagan by tapping the link in our show notes, by clicking the link in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube, or by going to our website, heardeverything.com. We may earn an Amazon commission if you make a purchase. Heardeverything.com is where you can also find my 1994 conversation with another famous adoptee, Wendy's founder, Dave Thomas.
My adopted grandmother, Minnie, really a nice lady to me, but she's the one that told me, and I don't know why she didn't tell me earlier, but everyone else I thought was, didn't trust me. But I'll also tell you this, that maybe they didn't know.
And my 1989 conversation with Michael Reagan's sister, Maureen Reagan.
He came on the scene at a time when the American people were losing confidence in themselves. And his confidence in them allowed this nation to begin to get its own wheel moving. And that was the most important thing that he could bring.
And of course, we post new episodes of Now I've Heard Everything every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And you can find us any place you find podcasts. And thank you so much for listening. Next time on Now I've Heard Everything, we always hear the Republicans and Democrats alike bantying about the name Abraham Lincoln. But what relevance does Abraham Lincoln have today? My 2004 conversation with Democrat, former New York Governor Mario Cuomo.
Lincoln said, "Show me a religion that believes in just one thing. Love one another as you love yourself, and I will belong to that religion." Unfortunately, most of them add all kinds of rules and regulations.
That's next time on Now I've Heard Everything. I'm Bill Thompson.